Today on Forbes, under Trump tariffs, made in Vietnam will be the new made in China. President-elect Donald Trump says his plan to impose heavy tariffs on goods imported to the U.S. will shrink the federal deficit, lower food prices, and create more jobs at home. On the campaign trail in Savannah, Georgia, he vowed to, quote, relocate entire industries to the U.S. In September, he said, quote, "You will see a mass exodus of manufacturing from China to Pennsylvania, from Korea to North Carolina, from Germany to right here in Georgia." However, such reshoring is unlikely to happen. Certainly not at the scale and speed that Trump wants, if ever. Instead, expect to see one country as a major beneficiary of Trump's policies: Vietnam. Jason Miller, a professor of supply chain management at Michigan State University, told Forbes, quote, "If previously it was made in China, now it's going to be made in Vietnam. That production is not coming back to America." During the previous Trump administration, major foreign corporations, including Apple, Foxconn, and Intel, started pivoting to Vietnam as a way to diversify their manufacturing portfolio. Just 2 months ago, SpaceX announced a $1.5 billion investment in Vietnam, too. Even the Trump Organization is investing in the country, with a recently trumpeted $1.5 billion luxury real estate deal. And now, the Southeast Asian nation is well-positioned to benefit even more from the anticipated anti-China sentiment of the forthcoming administration, especially if it moves quickly to streamline regulation so that businesses can move in quickly. Vietnam has a number of advantages over other regional rivals like India. First, as a single-party authoritarian state, Vietnam can and does set new business-friendly policy quickly. Additionally, the country is geographically well-positioned. It already has 3 of the world's top 50 busiest ports, and is next door to China, making trade and logistics between the two countries easier. Critically, Vietnam also has a free trade agreement with the European Union, the only other regional country besides Singapore to have one. India is currently negotiating such a deal, which would smooth imports and exports between the EU and the world's most populous country. Vietnam is also moving quickly to improve the infrastructure needed to support large projects, like the country's new decree earlier this year that allows companies to buy green energy from solar power producers, rather than go through the traditional state power utility. The move, which makes it easier for companies to meet their climate targets, was applauded by Apple, Samsung, the country's largest foreign investor, and the United States Embassy in Hanoi. Trump has repeatedly said in recent months that he wants to promote American manufacturing and make foreign-made goods more expensive to import. He singled out Mexico as well as China, saying earlier this month that he would implement tariffs of between 25% and 100% on products made south of the border. Previously, he said that goods made in China should be hit with a 60% tariff, while anything manufactured abroad should have a blanket 20% tariff, including Vietnam. But the country clearly sees an opportunity for growth. An Nhiep Truong, a professor of governance at Indiana University and a former advisor to the Vietnamese Prime Minister, told Forbes, quote, "Vietnam could be mildly successful or it could be hugely successful, depending on how it facilitates this foreign direct investment wave." Truong said he is currently preparing a memo for Hanoi about how his home country can capitalize on these strict new trade rules, as Vietnam bets that a huge influx of foreign capital will help transform it into a developed, high-income country by 2045. At the top of Truong's list is targeting multinational corporations that will bring their own ecosystem of suppliers and focusing on higher-value goods. He said, quote, "Vietnam should prioritize companies that will bring other companies to Vietnam. If you bring Apple, there are a lot of other suppliers that want to be close to Apple, companies that allow Vietnam to move into a more high-tech sector. Instead of doing footwear and textiles, Vietnam should aim for biotechnology and AI and semiconductors." For full coverage, check out Cyrus Farivar's piece on Forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in.